like to use the dough scraper when I'm mixing it all in because you can kind of keep the sides of the bowl clean that way. Just keep scraping from the side, folding it over into the middle, and eventually you get a nice, smoothish, well incorporated dough. I wouldn't say smooth at this point, but you can tell that all the dry parts have been mixed in. This dough is relatively stiff because it's about a maybe 60-something percent, 65% hydration dough, low hydration dough. So at this point, got this nice well incorporated dough ready to cover with a damp towel for 75 minutes or thereabouts. And now we just wait. So now we uncover it. See, it's kind of spread out a little bit. Gotta get your hands wet. Now we're just gonna start doing this method where we grab half the dough, kind of stretch it out, pull it towards you, put it down, come around and grab the other half, do the same thing, stretchy, tucking the extra dough under there, get my hands wet again. And we just keep turning it 90 degrees, rotating it, getting that good stretch, slapping it down all the way to the other side, stretch and fold. Flatten it out a little bit, wet the hands, turn it again. This should start getting tougher and tougher to stretch. It's kind of rubbery and that's good. Building up that gluten strength, stretch. I do this several times until it just feels really tough. And the last time, just gonna pull it in half and then flip it over so the seam is down. It's really hard to pull it in half at this point. Flip the dough over like this, kind of tuck it in until it makes a nice little ball. Then we cover, and now we're gonna wait 30 minutes. So here we go again. We're going to do the first set of coil folds, and you'll notice that the dough is much different now than it looked before, but again with wet hands. This time, grab it, we're just going to like let this stretch up, fold under, stretch up, fold under, grab it right in the middle. Shake, tuck that back under. So now it looks like that. That's it. That's a coil fold. Now we wait another 30 minutes and we're gonna do one set of those every 30 minutes for 2 hours. Okay, so we are to our fourth fold and take a look at this dough now. Very different. Wet hands. Dough is really soft and pillowy at this point, full of air. Look at that. So we'll cover it. That was the fourth coil fold. Still gonna let it rest another 30 minutes, and then we'll dump it on the counter and prepare the loaves as a pre-shape. Okay, now for the fun part. We're gonna dump this dough on the counter. This is a double batch that I'm gonna split it in half and then pre-shape it. But first of all, look at that super pillowy dough. So, again, always getting some wet hands going here, but I kind of help the dough along to get it out. Just pull it back from the bowl a little bit. And I'm just gonna dump it. It's very satisfying. Wow. And now I'm just gonna split this dough in half, and then I'm gonna pre-shape. Using one of these handy dough tools, get kind of 2 equal pieces. And again, with at least one wet hand, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull up one side, I'm gonna stretch it. I'm gonna pull up the other side, I'm gonna stretch it. And then this last bit here. And then here's the tricky part. Using this sort of motion, I'm just gonna pull towards myself, in and under. It's hard to really say that, but this hand I'm pushing and pulling. The other one's just giving resistance. I'm kind of tucking with my fingers underneath. And I'm just making this round ball. And there's number one. I'm gonna do it again. Always have at least one wet hand because this dough does get sticky. Pulling towards myself and under. Using the heel of my left hand and the fingers of this one to tuck it under, tuck it under, tuck it under. Keep doing it till there's good tension. See some little bubbles forming, that's okay. If they get really big, you pop them. And then I just get this nice little round thing. 2 of them. Now we're gonna let those sit for 30 minutes and then we do the final shape into the bag. So we're back. And I've got my 2 pre-shaped dough balls. They've kind of flattened out a little bit. And now is when we're going to do the final shaping. And a lot of people will put them into these bamboo bannetons. And I was using those for a long time. They started getting discolored and I was worried about mold. And so I use these. You can see I've lightly dusted it with white rice flour, but these are silicone. A lot of people don't like these. They take a little getting used to, but I love them because I can just wash them out and they're super easy to use. But you want to dust them with a little bit of this white rice flour. That'll keep everything from sticking. And so here we go. I'm going to scrape this up. It's going to be sticky on the underside. So I scrape it up and then I'm going to kind of flatten it out and I'm going to do this shaping. So now I've got this nice, super pliable dough. And I'm just grabbing it alternately by the different sides, kind of making it into a rectangle. I like it to be a little bit longer on one side than the other. Grab from the middle. The top is very sticky now. Okay, so I get it like this. It's a little bit longer like this. And then I'm just gonna flip it in 1/3, and the other third right on top like that. Turn it lengthwise, and then I roll it quite tightly. You should feel the tension in here. There's some little bubbles popping. Kind of pull it towards you to get that, and then I'm gonna close the ends, pinch them in, poke and pinch. Then, just gonna take this nicely floured, dusted banneton, just plop her right in there. Sometimes I'll add a little bit more rice flour right along the edges, just to make sure we're not going to get anything sticking. And then the final touch, take one of these little plastic hairnet kind of things, put this over the top, make sure it's kind of poofed up on the top a little bit here. And then that is gonna go into the refrigerator for a minimum of 12 hours. Okay, so it's the next morning. It's been 12 and a half, almost 13 hours. Maybe I had to run out and do a quick errand this morning. Got the dough out of the refrigerator, put it into the freezer. The oven is preheated to 500 degrees with my cast iron Dutch oven inside. So now we're gonna flip the dough out onto the silicone sling, score it, and then bake it. Hopefully you can see that. Smooth this rice flour. It helps with the scoring pattern. Now there's different types of bread lames. This is a very common one that comes in the kits. It's got a long handle. I prefer something like this. Little razor blade here that we're going to use to make my fancy little scores. I know you probably can't see this that well, but that's okay because these are my secret fancy yin yang leaf scores that I like to do. Everybody has their own style. That's fine. Maybe you can see what I'm doing. You always have to make sure that some of these cuts, these little ones I'm doing are decorative, but then you also, the deeper ones are expansion scores because the dough needs to expand in some way. So I'm just controlling where it's going to go. I like using my little snippers here to make the little indentations in the leaves. And of course, you don't have to be fancy with all of this, but I like being fancy. Sometimes fancy is fun. It's bread, it's baking, and it's art. That's why we like it so much. Try to be relatively quick with this because as the dough starts to warm up back to room temperature, it starts to sag, it gets a little harder to do. That's the beauty of putting it in the freezer. So now I've got my nicely scored dough. I'm gonna pull the Dutch oven out of the oven. Safety first. Very hot. Take the silicone sling. These things are, you need one. Easily drop it right into that hot pan. Put the lid back on. Now it's going to go into the oven. I'm going to turn the temp down to 450. Set the timer for 30. So it'll go 30 minutes in the oven with the lid on. Take the lid off, another 15 minutes, and then we got bread. The timer's counting down to 0. When I took the lid off at 30 minutes, that's when I take my other loaf, the other basket out of the fridge, put it in the freezer, because I like to have them in there for about 30 minutes to get them good and stiff before I score it. But now we're waiting for the timer to go, getting my mitts on here. There's that sound we've been waiting for. Timer off. I'm not going to turn the oven off because I'm going to preheat this to get the next loaf in, but here we go. Woo, that's hot. see for a minute. There you go. Look at that baby. Looking good.